Hi everybody, this is Christy. I am the Intimate Warrior. I thank you so much for stopping by, and as always, I send you love. Today is March the 7th, and I haven't been putting a date in my videos, but I am today because I wanted to mark what I am going through, or this timeline here. I have several videos before this, but every single video that I have will be uploaded in its fashion. So you will receive this message here exactly when you are supposed to, but of course it's going to definitely be way past March the 7th. In a couple of my previous videos, I did mention that I would be going through something. I already knew what was ahead of me within the next 7 to 10 days. Well, I am already at this point. I've already actually passed it, if you will, had this experience come up. Not precisely what I thought it was going to be, but definitely an experience. And so I wanted to share this wisdom with you, if you will. And, you know, it has to do, everything is so involved here. But before I continue on, I wanted to mention how it's been a couple of weeks, I guess, maybe longer. I ended up waking up singing a song, or my consciousness was singing a song. I don't know if you have watched the cartoon Wish. If you haven't, by all means, go check it out, if you will. And so there's a song in there that my granddaughter and I sing together sometimes. And now here I am forgetting what it's actually called. So it's called At All Cost. And I woke up as I was coming out of sleep, or waking up into my own reality here. My consciousness was singing what is it? The chorus. Oh my gosh. I was singing the chorus, waking up from my sleep, singing the chorus. And you've probably had so many times in your life that has actually happened to you. Or maybe waking up to even reciting words from a movie or poems, whatever it is. I'm sure you've had some certain a similar experience. And I've done this a lot, waking up from my sleep, singing a song. But I haven't always understood what was happening with that. For this moment, I understood the deeper connection of what was taking place. The words to Wish is, I will protect you at all cost. And it continues. So if you don't know, if you haven't heard that song, just if you want to, please go check it out. And the chorus part of it, especially, just listen to that. And so I ended up understanding, because who is it that really protects us? When we are children, we have our parents who protect us. And, but for the most part, it's the mom, right? If you mess with our children as a mom's going to come back, and mom is going to be there. Mom's going to stand up. Mom does everything. If you're sick, mom's going to be there. And mom is going to lose sleep. Well, most mothers anyway. I don't know about how your mothers were to you. And I know we all have, a reality that doesn't quite fit what it should be. Imperfect realities, and where we are abused. Okay, and so mom and dad are not the precise, loving role models that we're all supposed to have. But even in that situation, or any situation that we have in our life, we can still become better people. But for the most part, moms and dads, our parents, are supposed to be those who truly guide us. and truly love us and give this deeper sense of connection and love. And if you have been one of those people who have had such a blessed upbringing and still continue to do so, I am so happy for you. I wasn't one of those people. So to trust in this path has been very difficult. I can go back in my life here especially since my awakening process. And I can see markers, timelines, experiences where I was always trying to wake up. Where Source was always trying to wake me up to my authentic self. Authenticity. There's a word that we hear so much about. There's a lot of words, and I'm going to throw out just a couple here that people don't understand. But they use it all the time, I guess, and abuse it. Love being one. People will say, I love you, but then there's those out there who are just not showing you anything. They can talk the talk, but they cannot walk the walk. Same with faith. Oh yeah, I believe. I have so much faith in God and in my path and in believing Jesus Christ, but are not walking the walk. Authenticity, truth. Those two words also are words that people misunderstand. Truth, especially truth here. What is the truth? There are people out there that will tell you the truth hurts. Well, your truth, what you think is the truth, isn't the truth. I ended up saying the other day, oh my gosh, I know nothing at all. I do not know anything at all. What I think is right in the human mind is entirely wrong. And that's why God's going to transform our mind and our heart. Everything that we must, well, what is it? The other one, that He must increase and I must decrease. And these things are really difficult for the human mind. To be truly authentic, to speak the truth, has nothing to do with I can't even come up with an example, because here I am. I'm Christy. I have a husband, I have a child, and I have a grandchild. That's my truth, if you want to go ahead and say it. But you don't even know what your truth is. There's no way for us to know the truth about who we are if we still carry pain. Which means there's no way that we can be truly authentic about who we are. You know, our moral values, in general, morals, our values, you know, the love in our heart, all of that it's really incomplete, because we don't even understand what any of that is until we have completely healed ourselves. We make decisions based upon how we feel and how we have been treated from our past. So I have had this experience, and this experience, just like with my exercising, that light bulb went off the other day, a couple of days ago. The light bulb went off. You know, and I tell you guys all the time, in my experience, I try to choose love. Love over what I'm going through. And I've had to use and put in place Christ within it. An imaginary person, you know, that the Bible speaks about. I have created that image in my mind and placed that image beside me to give me strength in my reality when I am faced with the temptation to go against the truth, which is Source. God is the only truth because of Christ. That is the only truth. You know, we have to go through Christ to get to God. That is true, which means that if we are not even in an alignment with love, We don't have truth within ourselves yet. So until you have fully healed yourself and have chosen love, which is the ultimate sacrifice, what in your life is asking you to ultimately sacrifice yourself? What are you going through? What relationships are in complete turmoil? And love is asking you to sacrifice yourself. Many people, when they are faced with relationships that are falling to pieces, are difficult to go through, handle, maybe abusive, whatever the situation is, the first thing they think about doing is leaving. It's not going to work out. Or I love this person more than they love me. Marriages break up, relationships fall apart, all because we are experiencing pain. All because we want the other person to acknowledge us. We want the other person to reciprocate what we are giving. And this is something really, I've been sitting with this for several days. I started this video a couple of days ago, and I think I tried to finish it the next day or something like that. But, my life has played out where I couldn't get back to this video until today. So I am incorporating several days worth within this video. And it's only been minutes long here. So I have actually had to kind of sit with this within myself. So I mentioned that I'm having this experience, or I had this experience, which has gotten me to this understanding here, where I'm still experiencing a pain. Okay, I hope you understand that we have to experience pain, discomfort, disconnection, judgment, all of those things. We have to actually have those experiences. And we have to have those emotions more specifically. And then we have to have that internal dialogue to take place. And then we have to make a decision. What is the ultimate sacrifice? So although I have been training myself to be a pillar of love, and I'm giggling because it doesn't always work out, right? You try and you try, but then you're hurting so bad. You feel so left out or crushed or whatever is happening in your life. You don't feel loved and valued by other people. And so we respond harshly. We forget so quickly what it is to really be the example of what love signifies. And that's something we have to constantly teach ourselves about. And every year around, February to March, I have this experience. I told you, our experiences will constantly repeat themselves until they are learned. And of course, they involve people in our lives. So even if it's what our karma entails, right? And it's our reaping and sowing. There's an X amount of things that we have to learn. This is the law. There's no way around it. There's X amount of things we have to learn. There's an X amount of things we have to feel. X amount of things we have to constantly give and do. That's it. And until we have completed the necessary amount per this lifetime, or the lifetime you're currently in, we don't move on from that. Therefore, we can't, of course, ascend into that higher level of understanding. Our ultimate end point, beginning and end, because God is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. And I'm getting emotional for some reason here. In order to know what God is, imagine, even in you, in your, whatever your knowledge is right now, what is your understanding of God, of what God is to you? what is that relationship? And I know when I first began, or even all of my life, when we hear, and I mention, I'm going to throw some words at you. Of course, I mentioned love, faith, but we need God and Christ in those words. Words are always often spoke about, but not understood, because we'll talk about it and then we'll make people feel guilty about those things or use them as power instead of empowerment. Power to subdue instead of empowerment within the individual. Instead of light within the individual, we use those words and phrases to take away, rob. Right? And that's what happened to me all of my life. Jesus that, God this, if you don't do this, you're going to, you're going to hell, you're a bad person, you, whatever, all kinds of abuse. In order to love person this, you got to do this, that, this, and this, and just constantly beaten down by these words and phrases. So the idea, and this is why so many people don't go to church or whatever it is, have a problem with religion, have a problem with what the Bible even says in general, and people become an atheist. Is that the word? Or the people who don't believe in God, and it might be another word. Yeah, no, it's an atheist, and I forget there's another one that you just don't know, and I forget what that is called in general, but anyway, our idea, there's a confusion of what God is. And there's no way that we would understand what God is. I don't care how much you read. In order to really understand God, you have to experience God. But in order to experience God, you have to walk through faith and through love. And in order to even understand what faith and love is, you have to walk through healing and sacrifice, or suffering and sacrifice. Which of course helps us to heal ourselves. Every time we learn something, we heal something, we move forward. But even as we move forward to that next level, we have to be tested. Your waters are tested, your knowledge is tested, your strength is tested to see. And then, if you have learned, if you remember what you have learned through that test again, and it's probably something you have been so familiar with, especially the pain, that emotion is, you are so familiar with being hurt. That's why it becomes so much more difficult to forget the pain in your past. And then you can't move forward. You have to step back a little bit more. Okay, you're not ready for this. How many times have we said, oh, yeah, God, I wish I can have a relationship. I wish I can have this job. I wish I can afford this. Give me some more money. And we don't ever see it. And then we start talking about how, well, there must not be a God because everything I ask for is never given to me. Where are you, God? We start doubting God's presence within our lives because we're not seeing any work from Him or response back. Well, because we're not ready. And then all of a sudden things start to happen for you. It's like in relationships, if you're constantly seeking a relationship, putting that stress on yourself to find somebody, always thinking about it, beating yourself up about it, putting too much emphasis on it, you never find somebody. And then when you just say, hey, okay, I give up, then you have so many people, right? Sometimes that happens. And life has a way of really, really working itself out for you if we would just let life, fall the way that it's supposed to. Now, I'm not saying that we can't make things happen, because we do live in a reality where we can create our own life, right? That is our choice. But there is a true beauty in allowing things to really play out the way that it's supposed to. That gives us a really greater opportunity, not greater, it gives us an opportunity to really feel and be within that experience. And that's the experience that I have been experiencing here for 21 years. And every single, it has been 21 years for this occurrence here, but of course it does work itself within the 21 years. And again, like my pain, my accident, 15, 16 years before a change took place. Then the change took place, and for 4 to 5 or 6 years. And then that change just kind of stopped, but something else took place. You know, our life plays out the way it's supposed to, if we just open ourselves up to just freedom. So I got a little bit off track there. In this experience of what took place, and of course, when we have these experiences that make us go back into time where our pain is, of course, we have arguments, right? And so I had, of course, and this, of course, it comes with my husband. Okay, so I there's no way I can hide that information. And I'm not going to say too much because I do live with this individual. And I doubt he will ever hear this video, but I really try my hardest to not harm another individual. And I'm not going to go into detail about this. When it is time for me to mention it, and maybe there will be, maybe it never will be, I'll do so, if that's the case. But certain things we just shouldn't speak about. And really, we shouldn't be speaking about anything in our life that weighs us down, makes us feel terrible. Because if we're talking about it, it means we actually believe in that. And the more that we feed that, the more that we create it. And that's why purity of mind, purity of heart, purity of word, and purity of action creates the authentic self. So that word has been coming into my reality here, and so that's why I placed it into this video. And if I talk about it today, of course, awesome. But if not, I'll try to make another video about it. And so during this experience that I've had, I've been triggered, of course. And then not realizing I made a decision being triggered. And in that triggering, I made that decision, I didn't realize something until I began to talk to my mom about it. And then I heard my mom's side and heard the pain in my mom's side. And I realized, hold up. It was really weird because in this experience, again, I saw the same thing or felt and heard the same thing about seeing God more and less of yourself. But talking with my mother, who so easily walks away from life and anybody who harms her, I understood what I thought I was going to do is completely different from what I should do. Sacrifice is very painful. Now, to really understand it, I want you to think about Jesus and what his plan was here. God sent himself down here as Jesus, the Son, to wash away our sins, to go through so much difficulty and pain, so much struggling for mankind, in hopes that we will see a new way, a new light, a new God in its ultimate form of beauty and truth. So many people have a hard time getting away from chaos. Now, which they read the Old Testament and all they see is every terrible emotion. And then they'll throw, no, I am just like God. I have every emotion that God has. Well, of course, we all do. But so many people justify God's wrath with saying it's okay for them to also have those emotions. And I'm not saying it's not okay. What I'm saying is we're supposed to learn from those emotions and become what Christ was sent here for. And that's who God is. The most selfless individual who sacrificed. And we as a human person can't even comprehend that type of love. Here, take my child. And then I'm going to let the child be beaten, abused, and murdered. I mean, seriously. We can't comprehend that type of mentality and sacrifice. And again, it's not about the abuse of what this reality here can do to a human person. It's what the mind and the heart has to go through. What your life has to go through. To go through purification. But imagine Christ and everything good that Christ signified. Preaching to the poor, to people, helping the poor, all of the healing, friends with robbers, thieves, murderers, having prophets who were sinners become a prophet. In our day and age, anybody who did any crime against another person would be judged, and you probably wouldn't be friends. And that's not what Christ signifies. It's a true forgiveness. It's a true wiping away of all sins. But how do you go through that process? You have to teach yourself to be that. You're building that temple. You are building the ark. You are creating an ark, which is your body, the entire body, to help all the elements, but it's internal. It's all an internal visual here. To be able to sustain the worst storms of your life. So Noah's Ark, if you will, helps us to get through the worst storms of our life so that we can experience a new beginning. And so through my experience, I made up my mind about doing something, and in my mind, I was like, okay, this is what needs to be done, and I'm going to allow God to still allow this to take place. I'll wait for whenever it is that God's going to provide this, because as I can see in my life and in my past, as long as I wait for the right time, it's going to be done. And so I spoke with my mom about it, and I agreed with everything she was talking about, but I heard pain. So when we hear someone else talking, or we're having a conversation, there's lots that we have to really pay attention to. Words coming out of somebody's mouth can sound very pleasing, because the mind is hearing something completely different than what the heart is picking up. Your mind is attached to the words because of your pain. It likes that. It likes that you are in agreement to this conversation because there's pain still there. But the heart picks up on a different frequency. And then it picks up on truth, okay? When you can actually hear someone talking about something and you might agree with it again, your heart is going to pick up, perhaps, on either they're talking about being a good person or a bad person, Or are they mentioning healing or pain? You always hear it. You will always hear the truth if you are open to the truth. By the time I got off the phone with my mom, and we spoke for 2 hours that day, and she was, giving me a pat on the back, really, for this, I was a changed person. And I was knocked down again by what I thought I knew being completely wrong. So I let go of what I thought I had to do, and I decided I'm going to love God over myself. So in even teaching myself to love another human being as God has loved us, it hasn't always worked out, right? Like I already mentioned, because there's always been pain left over. But when you finally get to a point of every single thing working for you here in you becoming your true self through God, that is our path. We are trying to become our true self through Christ because of God. The authentic spirit, the authenticity of who you are is the spirit within yourself. Who no longer has pain, who no longer has needs outside of itself, who no longer has to be loved, acknowledged, whatever. And yeah, I'm healing still, because we're having our experience in life. If you learn from that experience about what it really means through God's eyes, not ours, through God's heart, what our experience means through it, you will be at a higher level. But you have to continue within that portion of your education. You might have gotten to the next level, but remember, you're still working with where you were, because your pain was in the past. You have to heal that pain. And maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, maybe next month, what I have learned, my higher learning of it, through heart, not through ego, through God, not through my understanding. I'm going to be tested and to see if my ego still exists. I woke up the next day. I knew I was a different person. This need that I have was gone. And I felt a peace about this, a calmness within it. Because the ultimate goal to our cycle is to be of service to God. If we have any pain, yes, God will use it. See, God will use our pain for a greater good. But God can't use somebody who has pain within them to really change reality for its greatest good, because your pain is always going to come back and bite you and make you forget God. Does that make sense? Our pain will always make us forget God and why we are attempting to be love. Love. So it's been Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's been about 5 days now. Today's 5. And it's the same situation of my exercising thing. It might not make any sense to you about what I'm talking about with my exercising. Now I'm finally doing it for its greatest good in serving God. And I have developed such a strength even in doing that. But in your mind, you're like, well, yeah, Christy, we know exercising is for the greatest good. The health benefits, we know that honoring your temple, of course. We hear all of that all the time. And I knew this as well. I knew the same thing. Eating right and movement. So many benefits. But you're thinking of yourself at a point. And then when you are asked to give it up, sacrificing yourself, and then when it's handed back to you, it's like, what is that, a poem I used to have, or a verse I used to have of, what is that? Oh my goodness, let me push pause. Oh, if you love something, set it free. If it comes back to you, it's yours forever. Okay? And that is perfect for this video. If you love something, you set it free. If it comes back, it's yours forever. That's God. That is God at its finest right there. Here I am. God's putting all these people here on this earth. We remembered God when we were nothing in the womb. Upon our birth, we forgot God. Then when you finally find God again, you will never want to be without Him. Or it, the substance of God. The thing of God, whatever it is that you are comfortable with. You will never want to be without it. So like exercising, you can put that into that. You can put your relationships into that. But if you have anything bitter about it, you don't feel what that's about. If you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours forever. You know, I used to be, when and I've had that, I used to have a little, it was like a, oh my goodness, license plate. A bigger sign, but you can hang it up on the wall, but it looked like a license plate. And I had that when I was a kid growing up. I don't think I have it any longer, but maybe I do. It's in my closet. So, 7, 8, 9, 10, when I used to always write my poetry and my stories growing up, I wrote from pain. It's so easy to write from your pain. It's so easy to talk from your pain. But then, you get to a point. Anyway, so when I would read that, it would hurt my heart so bad. Even though I never experienced a romantic kind of love, that to give it away would be so painful. And it is. But that's the ultimate sacrifice. Can you love somebody that much that you're going to just let them go and still love them? Let them do what they want to do. Let them treat you the way that they want to treat you and still love them? We curse God. We curse Jesus all the time. We use those words as curse words. Yet, God loves us regardless. If we ever find our way back to God, we are accepted with open arms. That's where I'm at. Or that's where I'm working at. That's what my consciousness has realized. Yeah, Christy, you have been learning to love people. I have been learning to love people. But my pain still wanted people to love me back. My pain still came up and made me lash out and have expectations still, or want to hurt people, a bitter tone. I was okay with walking away. Until now, I've learned something differently of what it really means to love without being loved. And I've never felt like this in my life these past 5 days of being okay with myself. Being okay with myself. Just me. And still loving other people. So imagine being in a place, a crowd, the most biggest crowd that you could ever be in. And if you're like me, you do not mix well in crowds, or used to how I used to be. I used to, we feel, right? We feel so much. We can feel the negative vibes, or be on edge, or we're insecure. We feel very deeply. And then we have to come back home and kind of regenerate. Imagine being in that room. Maybe you're in the dead center. Yeah, put yourself in the dead center of a room of thousands and millions of people surrounding you. There's a huge gap in between that room. You're that center point. Huge space separating you and that crowd. The huge crowd. Maybe they're looking at you, maybe they're not. Maybe they want to acknowledge you, maybe they don't. But you aren't there to them because you're in the center. You're not in their group. But you are still loving them while they are not loving you. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm seeing it in my mind. That point in the center is the dot of everything. It's the beginning of everything. That's God's finger. When God touches and creates. And until we get to that point of our life of being okay in a world that doesn't love you, and being okay with not receiving anything, you may never find somebody to love you. Are you okay with that? You may never be rich. Are you okay with that? You may never have children. Are you okay with that? You may never have a car. You may never be sexy. Whatever it is that you have going on in your mind about this reality, you may never have it. Are you okay with that? Or you may have it all right now, and you still might be the most loneliest person in the world. And are you okay with that? I know I'm still working through this. I am nowhere because it's really fresh. I am still, even though I said I've never felt this way. My heart has created a shield. I know through what I have just gone through, there's a shield protecting it now. And you're hearing me crying, which is crazy. We have to have that breastplate. We will create that breastplate, which creates this a protection from harm. It's such strength, such understanding, such perfection, such love that has been created that constructs this barrier that no one can harm us anymore. Nobody can harm us anymore. Do you know why? Or when you get to that point, because you are healed. Your past has been wiped clean. And you know what that is? Forgiveness. And you know who does that? The blood of Jesus Christ. So, alchemically within the body, when we allow Christ within our heart, Christ heals through our own awareness of what needs to be done. Can Christ move within us to purify us from within? Our cells, the blood, our breath, everything, every single organ is cleansed and purified. And until it has been done completely, the Kundalini doesn't even, it will not awaken. I mean, it awakens. Once we open up our heart and mind to a new way of being, of course, the doorway to that. I saw it when there's the beginning part that does take place. But the ascension of that to the point where it transcends your life, this is the last part of it. That unless you choose life, the doorway to life, which means that you give up all, you have surrendered to your pain. You've surrendered your way of thinking completely, and I mean 100%. It has to be 100%. Does the Kundalini, does the Holy Spirit activate the fire within us? The flames to awaken us to our authentic self. So with me in the past 5 days here, I've woken up a different person each day. But I know that I have a bitter tone still. I know I still have that pain because I'm crying. But it's the awareness here. It's light is doing its job for me. And I have to see it. And the more that I'm aware of this bitterness and whatever pain is still residing within me, and as long as I am still choosing God, still choosing to walk with love, to make my way back with Source, I'm able to get there eventually. So I won't know really how I'm going to turn out, because I haven't had an experience now to match my awareness, to match what I have understood now. And I'm going to have that. And then if that hurts me when I have that experience, well, I have to stay here at this level. So again, let me go back to my exercising or not exercising. You know, I did take the time. Something was heavy. I acknowledged the heaviness when I was exercising. It was as if my feet didn't want to go. My body didn't want to go. So you know what? I was like, well, let's feel this. Let's stop. Let's try to understand it. But it gave me an opportunity to really take care of my mother-in-law before she passed away. And it gave me the most beautiful opportunity to spend time with my granddaughter, my very first granddaughter. And she'll be 5 here next month. So it was necessary to stay at that lesson of and learn what I was going through. Not hate it. And yes, there were times I did beat myself up because look at you, Christy. Now look at you. And today when I was working out, and this is hurting, you know, even though it was a beautiful moment for me, it's hurting right now. I looked in the mirror because there's a mirror on my closet door in front that I can see myself in. And for the first time in my entire life, can I actually see myself through God's eyes? I may never, at the weight that I am right now, okay? And, you know, if I went to the doctors, you know, I'd probably be considered obese or overweight, if you will. Somebody else out there might say, well, yeah, Christy's let herself go again. Why is she at this weight? You know, other people, you know, will criticize me. And I have done that a little bit throughout the past 5 years. And in the past 5 years, I kept saying, well, if it's time, it'll all work itself out. And that is the truth. It will work itself out. I may never lose a pound in my daily exercising. But I've gained so much strength. I may never go back down to a size 6, and let alone a size 0. But I've developed a great beauty within me. I may never be appealing to others. I may never be pleasant to look at to others. But I am beautiful to God. And that's what I saw today. For the very first time. Because I've allowed God to heal me. It is our pain that creates an illusion and the false identity that we have within ourselves. Therefore, it's the false identity that we create in other people. Imagine the world who only sees God in their mind. If you only saw God in your mind, you would only see God in reality. Wow. Wow. So in saying that, I want to talk about your focus. And so in a couple of my videos, or a video, I mentioned something through my Facebook feed
recently. A couple of things. A couple of guys, people who have come into my reality to tempt me. Everything in our reality is either going to push you towards source or take you away from the source. You have to remember that. And you are the only one who can judge that. How do you judge it? Is it a pure thought or an impure thought? That's it. Because even us, the human mind, if I said good and bad, a good thought or a bad thought, positive or negative, in this reality, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, white, black, Asian, Mexican, whatever it is, there's an idea, even on good and bad. If you are a Democrat, you're going to think a Republican is bad. If you're a Republican, you think the Democrat Party is bad, right? You can't see anything good within these ways. So whatever you see in your reality, if it is making you think and feel something impure, that's when you need to question it. Why are you focusing on it anyway? If you don't have enough strength to figure it out, stop focusing on things like that put you on edge, make you feel negative emotions, trigger you. It's okay to set those types of boundaries. I did in the beginning. I stopped watching news, and to this day, I still don't watch the news. I don't care. It's not that I don't care, okay? There's nothing we can do to change anything outside of our own reality. Even in my reality, there's nothing that I can do to change my husband's way. Nothing I can do. Nothing I can do about my son's life. There's nothing I can do about my granddaughter's life except love them. That's the only thing we can do and change. That's the only enforcement that we can give is love. So why are you focusing on it? All things in this reality, you're going to have these conspiracies. You're going to have, even in the people in our who are in our community of awakening, of consciousness. Excuse me. There's so many people still out there putting what is going on in reality, talking to you about this reality, which is only being counterproductive. It's not moving you forward, because it now is creating something inside of your mind, a seed that is not going to produce good fruit. Every thought that you have, everything that you observe in your reality, whether it's on YouTube, social media, the television, an experience in your life, that's either going to produce a good fruit or a bad fruit. A good seed or a bad seed. And of course the fruit. So I said that backwards. But if you do whatever you have to do that gives you an opportunity to see the difference between it. That's the divide that God did create. The light and the dark. There is a division that even has to be created in your life. And that's why in Revelations that, Christ is talking about here to divide. Moms will be, the children are going to go against the moms against the children, the siblings, against each other. Everyone is going to turn against each other to give each individual the opportunity to make the right decision. If we don't see bad in our reality, how do we know what's good? If we don't see the wrong, how do we know what is right? But even in trying to figure out right and wrong, it has nothing to do. It's completely different from what God has designed for you in your life. But we have to go through our own steps. We have to go through our own walk. So I can't, a good person, and I'm not in no way, shape, or form making myself any better than another individual who tries to teach others or wants to give wisdom out there. But to be someone who wants to be there for other people, I can't tell you, like if you were, let's just say, in a bad relationship, it would be terrible of me to say, well, then walk away. Because your heart, your spirit could be telling you to stay, to choose something else. So I would not be giving you, no one is supposed to give advice, really, to speak. Because it's catered and individualized to every person's own plan. And that's why love is the only thing that covers it all. So if my husband came and told me everything that he's going through, and I help him and I decide or give him a decision, tell him what to do. If I tell him what to do, then I am making that choice for him instead of allowing him to figure it out. So as his wife, it's something that I have really tried, no matter what it is in our marriage, to just stop. And it's really hard when it comes with two people who have committed their life together. Together, we're supposed to be doing it together. And this goes back to why I've understood something here recently, and why I know I'm a different person, or things are going to change for me. Marriage, the way that humanity has created it to be, is not the marriage that God has designed it. So when you think of a marriage, what God has put together, let no man put asunder. If someone is breaking you up, if you are breaking up your marriage, it's because you have decided to do so. And that is by your own choice. But you are going to have to pay for that price as well. That's karma. It comes back all the time, whether it's in this lifetime or the next. It's something we are going to have to pay for. The marriage is a sacred contract between two people, which of course is done internally. But if you are in a marriage right now, if you can treat your marriage as a sacred marriage, making your mind and your heart work in alignment with why God has designed it, the transmutation of our energies doesn't even begin until two people are in cooperation with each other. Two elements are in cooperation with each other. Those two elements divide themselves into four. And only in the four, are those energies able to rise. And, there's a whole lot that goes into play, so I'm not going to, downplay that. When we really commit to this, when we are in commitment to uniting soul, spirit, body, God, then we are, and we are committed to upholding the law within ourselves. That is the contract. The contract, the binding, the sealing between you and God. If you can commit in a godly way to a human in this reality, especially one that does not reciprocate or you think isn't reciprocating, because we don't even know what the other person is doing and going through inside, right? We don't. Because we don't live in their mind and their heart. We don't live in their pain. And we don't live in their understanding. And time is the only thing that teaches us anything. But if you can have a godly relationship, not just with the spouse, but with everybody else in your life, you will find a godly relation. You will reach God. You understand what it means to be God-like. You get it? We have to have our energies marry each other. We have to have our soul marry the spirit. And then we have to have the spirit marry God. And that's service. The ultimate service is just to make our way back. Make that deeper connection with Source. And that's where authenticity comes into play. True authenticity. And we have so many people out there, influencers, that are using that word to be authentic. And authenticity is actually the strongest frequency. We hear about love being the ultimate frequency, and it is. It's the frequency that will definitely heal. Heals you, and it'll heal somebody that you love. I mean, think about it. Love, if godly love now, if you allow someone to be themselves, the self they think that they are, allowing them to expand and do and go, you're giving them freedom. If you love someone, you set them free. If they come back, they are yours forever. Imagine that. But true authenticity in its vibration is ginormous. Authenticity is when the mind, the heart, and the body move in unison, which means your actions. How many times do people, of course, they say they love you, but they're never committed to you, right? How many times do people say they believe in this topic or whatever it is? Yeah, they can talk the talk, but when it boils down to it, they'll let you down. Or people are constantly lying. People don't even know who they really are. And then they don't even know that they don't know who they are. The mind, the heart, and your actions. I guess we call that having values and morals, but even still, people who claim to have value and morals, it's, of course, authenticity is deeper than that, but those who claim to have value, faith, and morals aren't there either because, why? Pain. The pain will always make you do something. Unless you understand and are focusing on why you were acting the way that you were acting. Your emotions will make you yell and then probably say something to somebody. Your emotions will make you bitter and then make you seek revenge. Your emotions will make you slander somebody and talk bad about them. So until we get all of that in alignment, the truest, authentic self within you is not developed. It's not developed. I'm at that cusp of learning to walk through my authenticity. We have to be mindful of it every single day. I know, like if I'm in an argument with my husband or my mom or, whatever is happening, I am always aware of my thoughts and my emotions. Perhaps not at the exact moment, but when I walk away, I come up here and I see, oh my gosh, look at what you did, Christy. Do you see? Now look, you are not in alignment with love. You were in alignment with your pain. To get to and speaking of pain, as I was going to just end this video, imagine a world where you don't feel any. And that includes physical pain. And I'm talking about like if you cut your finger, bruise your knee, step on a rock. We feel all of those things because it has been breeded into us. The very first moment that Adam and Eve stepped on something, when they committed their very first sin, they fell to learn and develop themselves. It was that sin, that pain was bred into the next generation, and then the next generation, and the next generation. That's why our process through transcendence, or to transcendence, is so lengthy. Pain goes to the very beginning, where we have carried it through our DNA. And it's bleeding inside of us. And every time we become more aware of ourselves, without blaming another individual for our pain, we can heal it. All the way down to our body when it's cut. Won't feel that discomfort. That's huge. And of course, we know there are people in this reality who have the ability, I don't know what they're called, where they don't feel physical pain. And I don't know if they feel pain in the heart, but their body's numb, where they can put, needles through them without feeling it, or I don't know. I don't know about that yet. What they have transcended with that. So this is where I'm at, and just beginning here. I'm just beginning it. It's no way, shape, or form. Oh, this is funny. I wanted to mention this, and I'm sorry to make this video so long. If you remember in one of my videos, I told you I received a message that you're nearly finished. Well, that was a couple of years ago, and here I am. My ego could have heard those words and got ahead of itself. Oh yeah, because my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? A week or two from now, maybe next month. Well, next year is pretty close, so at least by next year I should be finished, because I had an idea where I kind of was, and the energy was rising to a certain point. I was like, well, I have to be nearly done. Meh. But if you're thinking that, you are not done. If you are thinking that you are really at a point, or that you are finished, or then that's still the ego that's talking to you. Because a person who has actually learning, and grateful for the experiences. Learning through love. Become so grateful that there's no need to express or even think that, So how many years ago it was spoken to me, and here I am. My timing is not God's timing, right? And that's why the time that I had to spend away from exercising makes my time that God has given back to me such more valuable to me. Where now I am moving in God's time for the gift that God has given to me. Now I'm seeing more of God in my life instead of my suffering. And who knows? I could have been finished earlier than I'm not, of course I'm not finished, but I could have been done years ago. But the ego was still so strong. I had lessons I had to still learn before I, got to anywhere, of course. And because here I am learning something, I'm learning something at a higher level. And in no way, shape, or form am I done. But my heart knows, because of this awareness, I'm going to be tested. The temptations will come. Oh, and through this, the past few days here, that I've spoken about this understanding, but of course, the argument between my husband and I, guys are texting me left and right. And I instantly knew, it's like, are you serious? Do I really have to go through this? My mind, and I'm like, I thought I was past all of this, Guys used to always, especially back when I was a fitness coach and making my daily posts about it, always texting me back and forth and trying to, get me, to tempt me into a different way of being. And one, that is not me anyway. So, but two, my awareness kicked in quickly. Let's shut this down, Christy. Let's observe what's happening here. You now see it. It's a temptation. Let's stay centered. You can still be kind, but don't fall for this, okay? It's so important for us to love ourselves as God loves us. And we won't need the outside temptations. So I'm sorry to blabber on in this video, and I didn't mean to make it so long today. I hope my heart has opened you up to a different way of understanding something. And if not today, maybe tomorrow. This is Christy. Much love, health, and healing your way. I am bringing purpose to your life. Take care.